Hi, my name is Marius and I'm an amateur historical tailor. In this video, I'm going to put together an 18th century men's shirt and I'll take you through the steps. The shirt was a very important article of clothing because it served as a protective layer between your bare skin and your outer, more expensive, less washable layers of clothing like your waistcoat or your coat. For that reason, they were generally made of linen, which could be white or I guess off-white or checked. I'm going to be using a light blue and white checked linen from Burnley and Trowbridge. I will also need white linen thread, pins and needles, a chunk of beeswax, and a hefty pair of sewing scissors. I'll link all my tools and my materials in the description. The 18th century shirt, like the chemise, is pretty simple, and all of the pattern pieces are squares and rectangles. So I'm not going to make a proper pattern, but I am going to draw out all my pieces on paper and I'll talk you through them. The first piece I'll need is the main body of the shirt. This should be long enough to reach down to your thighs and as wide as half your chest circumference plus a fair amount. We want it to be pretty loose-fitting and billowy. Y'all know those aesthetic poet shirts on Pinterest, that's kind of what we're going for. Then I'm going to mark a point 20 centimeters from both edges along the center line. Connect those up to draw the neck slit, and then draw another 20 centimeter line down perpendicular in the center of the slit. You should now have a T shape in the middle of your shirt body. Cut along your T. Now I'm going to put a narrow hem on the chest slit or the stem of the T. That leaves an awkward little bit at the bottom of the slit, so I'm going to buttonhole stitch over it and then put a bar tack across it. Mine's a bit messy, but it's functional. Next up are the neck gussets. Mine will be about 8 centimeters by 8 centimeters and they'll look like this. They get folded in half and inserted into both sides of the neck slit. Getting them in place can be a wee bit fiddly. Then I'm whip stitching them into place and I'll shore them up with a back stitch. Next up, we're moving on to the shoulder reinforcers. These should be pretty narrow, but they'll run from the neck slit, which is now more of a neck hole, to the edge of your shirt. Mine is 6 centimeters by 28 centimeters. These can also be fiddly to pin in. I usually pin them down the center and then pin down the sides. These, of course, get back stitched into place. Next, I cut a 42 by 14 centimeter collar, and then I folded it in half, folded up the seam allowance on the long sides, and sewed up both short sides. Then I flipped it inside out. I gathered the front and back of the neck hole, excluding the gussets, and whip stitched my collar onto it. Burnley and Trowbridge put out a really useful video on that. Once you finish the collar, you should have something that looks weirdly like a poncho. Really weird, unhemmed poncho. It's pretty snazzy. Maybe I should just leave it like this. Just ahead of the curve. Now onto the sleeves. These should be pretty wide. Mine were 55 by 60 centimeters. I cut 2, and I cut 2 more 8 centimeter by 8 centimeter gussets for the underarm. Then I folded the sleeve in half lengthwise and sewed it up, leaving a slit at one end and inserting the gusset at the other end. I backstitched this as well. Unfortunately, my lovely assistant Tabitha didn't feel like helping much, so this took a hot second. Then I flat felt the seams, hemmed the slit, and attached the cuffs the same way as the collar. The only difference was the size. I just realized I whiffed it. My cuffs are supposed to be more wristbands than cuffs, and the pieces that I drew out were twice as tall as they needed to be. So I'm gonna have to either redo them or figure out how to fix them. For those of you following along at home, the measurement I used is now 21 centimeters by 5 centimeters tall. I got my cuffs mainly fixed though, and then I backstitched around them to reinforce them. I folded the body in half and marked a point 22 centimeters down from the top and 1 point 10 centimeters up from the bottom. Then I sewed the side of the body up, which was some more arduous backstitching. I pinned the gusset, ungathered, into the arm's eye, and then gathered the rest of the sleeve to fit, and then I backstitched it in. I can't believe my wrists still work after all that.
There should be some pretty funky raw edges, but we'll fix those later. Almost done. I flat felt the seams, and then I cut 2 final pattern pieces, which go around the shoulders. I don't know what they're called, but mine were 44 by 20 centimeters. I flipped my shirt inside out, folded the edges on the shoulder pieces under, and pinned them around the arm side to cover the raw edges. Then I whipped them into place. No backstitching for me this time.
And then I had to shelve the shirt for a solid month. In case you didn't notice the change of scenery, I'm back in Scotland now. This semester has been wild. Story time. I gave myself a concussion. Not clickbait. So anyway, I haven't had as much time to sew as I'd like lately, and I haven't gotten as much done as I'd like lately, but I'm trying my best. Anyway. Then I'm cutting a small 5 by 5 centimeter square, and I'm inserting it like a gusset into the split at the bottom of the side seams. It gets folded over and whip stitched down.
Finally, some finishing touches. I hemmed the shirt with a narrow hem. Then I embroidered my initials and a number just below the chest slit in some random embroidery floss I had in my hussa. The collar gets 2 buttonholes, and the wristbands get 2 buttonholes for cufflinks. Finally, I made 2 thread buttons and attached them to the collar. And there we go. A blousey, sailory 18th century shirt. Roll the montage.
Go. A pretty simple square cut 18th century men's shirt. This is my first attempt at a YouTube video, so please consider liking and subscribing, and hopefully see you next time.